The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that the upcoming days can be really testing for Claire and Kyle as far as their relationship is concerned. Claire really walked down the dark side of the road in recent episodes. After enduring Jordan's torment for far too long, she decided to finally take down her wicked aunt. We all saw how skillfully she laid down a fatal trap for Jordan. Even though Claire's aunt caught on to her, it didn't change the ultimate outcome. As soon as Jordan realized that all doors of escape were effectively sealed, she took matters into her own hands. The Young and the Restless spoilers confirm that despite knowing that Claire had poisoned the tea, she consumed it. Jordan decided to take her own life rather than go back to prison. Claire, Victor, Nikki, and Victoria stood there and watched as Jordan breathed her last. In the upcoming episodes, the official version of Jordan's death will spread around town. The version that does not include what Claire did to cause the fatality. However, Kyle Abbott will sense that there is more to the story than what the Newmans are telling the cops. He'll confront Claire about it and urge her to tell him the truth. Kyle may even go on to tell her that she can trust him and that he won't judge her, no matter what she tells him. Eventually, Kyle will convince Claire that there shouldn't be any secrets between them as a couple. This will lead to Claire giving Kyle the whole story about what happened. The truth will, of course, send Kyle spiraling. Nothing could prepare Kyle to think that Claire could be capable of taking somebody's life. Yet, after hearing the truth, he may try and reason with himself that Jordan had put Claire through a lot. Not only did the woman steal Claire as a baby and keep her away from her family, but she even turned her against her own blood and flesh. So it is possible that Kyle will understand Claire's actions and step up to support her. However, there is an equal chance that he'll struggle with the idea that Claire is capable of murder. Will this make him fear that Harrison may not be safe with her? Hey everyone, welcome back to Radiant Serum. I'm Aubrey, and I hope your day is shining bright. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump right into today's video. The Young and the Restless spoilers for January 27 to February 7 ooze drama like nothing. Victor is trying to outsmart Chance, but that might not work. Next, Maria goes all panicky because Tessa and Aria vanish. Ian could be the man behind it, and Victor won't let him get away with this act. Finally, Nate makes a confession, only for Amy to confuse him more. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Victor Newman is back to his old tricks. He's spinning half-truths to Chance Chancellor to save Claire Newman's skin, who dumped sleeping pills in Jordan's tea. Moreover, he claims Jordan brought her own poison vial, but Chance might discover it's missing from the police evidence. Next, the detective gets closer to uncovering the Newman family's dirty little secrets as red flags pop up in the toxicology report. In the meantime, Sharon Newman is saying her final goodbye to Cameron Kirsten, who's merely a tormenting fragment of her imagination. Sadly, the peace doesn't last long after Maria Copeland brings some shocking news. What's the tea? Tessa and baby Aria are missing, and the culprit is likely to be Ian Ward, who wants to make Mariah pay. However, his attempt to hold her accountable will set the stage for a fatal showdown at the Newman ranch. His confrontation with Victor could end in blood because the latter can do anything to protect his family. We wonder if Ian survives this bloody brawl. If he doesn't, how will Mariah find Tessa and Aria before it's too late? Next, Daniel Ramaladiger will be filled with rage after catching the wind of Heather Stevens' ugly killing. Furthermore, the regret of not confronting Jordan and Ian is real. Elsewhere, Kyle Abbott starts doubting Claire's string of lies and pushes her to confess about her role in Jordan's death. Across Juneau City, Chelsea Lawson finally packs up and settles into Adam Newman's old ranch house. She claims it's all for Connor, but who knows, she might start falling for Adam all over again. The week of February 7 to 10 concludes Tessa and Aria's abduction saga. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott and Sally Spectra are busy planning a Paris getaway. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Tuesday, January 28, reveal Victor is taking it straight to Ian Ward. Plus, Michael once again takes a dangerous assignment, and Sally works hard to impress Billy. This will be a drama-filled day you won't want to miss. Victor takes care of his family. Ian snuck back into town with plans to harm Victor's family, which, of course, Victor does not like one bit. He's not going to let Ian get away with it unharmed. Now that Jordan is taken care of, Victor puts Ian Ward in the hot seat. Will Ian soon find himself as dead as Jordan, or does Victor have other plans for the evildoer who dared show his face in Genoa City? Speaking of Jordan, the Newmans find themselves in the awkward position of having her dead body to deal with. Jordan chose to drink the poison tea, and she died in front of Claire, Victoria, Nikki, Nick, and Victor. When Michael takes on a dangerous assignment, we suspect it probably has something to do with ensuring that Jordan's body is dealt with appropriately. And by appropriately, that means without authorities knowing what just went down at the tack house. Will Michael be successful? Sally has been working overtime for Billy lately. She already redid his new place, complete with toys from his childhood and photos of his children, including Delia. However, Sally isn't content to stop there for her new many. She works her magic to impress Billy even further. What else could she have hidden up her sleeve for him? At Nate's penthouse, Amy apologizes for missing dinner. The flight from Lay wore her out, and she went to her room for a nap. As they sip tea, Nate and Audra assure Amy they are happy to have her there. That's enough for her, but she wonders if there is news from Damian. Nate admits there is. The PI sent them an update, and it turns out that her son is not as down and out as they had thought. He explains that both of the companies her son works for are owned by the same parent company. Denise discovered that Damian is the owner of that parent company. Amy doesn't see how that is possible. It makes no sense to her. Nate agrees that something isn't tracking. His half-brother was supposed to be a lost soul. Amy points out that he came to her for money only a few years ago. If what Denise discovered is true, however, Damian is actually a hugely successful entrepreneur. How could my son accomplish this without me knowing it? Amy wonders. Amy remarks that her son could be extremely motivated, so perhaps this is possible. But she believed Damian had lost all of his drive and focus. It feels like there is more to it. Audra wonders why Damian would hide his prosperity. What Nate offered him is less than he has. What's his motivation? Wonders Nate. Amy speculates that her son suspects something and is coming to put Nate to the test. Hastings thinks it's time to be honest with his half-brother. He's made the initial connection, and he's coming to Genoa City. That's what they wanted. That was Amy's dying wish. Amy has dreamed and hoped to see her son again. Audra tells her the opportunity is there now. Amy knows she needs to make a full confession to her son, but part of her is afraid she will lose him again. Nate and Audra assure her that they will be there to support her as much as they can. Nate says Damian will be arriving tomorrow. This is all very soon for Amy. Audra repeats it will be okay, and she will do great. Amy remains afraid she will push him away again. This could be her last time seeing him. Audra adds it could also be the beginning of something new. Nate agrees, urging Amy to use the power of positive thinking and work on getting better so she can have more moments with her son. He meant what he said when he offered to help her in any way he could with her health care. It would be an honor for him to look for more options for her. Moved, Amy tells them how much their companionship and generosity mean to her. Wiping away the tears, she hopes Damian can join their merry trio. At Sharon's place, she admits to Nick that her mind is still racing. There must still be some PCP in her system, but she's been rehydrating since she got home. While she was captive, her mind started going over everything that had happened in the past few months, starting with the hallucinations of Cassie. Sharon had so much rage and anger at Daniel. It caused her to do horrible things. Nick says that wasn't her. She knows, but she still said horrible things to Daniel and his family. She has so many regrets for what she did. How will she ever get past them? Thinking about this all at once is too much for her. It may be the understatement of the decade to say that the young and the restless has put Sharon through the ringer. First, Ian and crazy Aunt Jordanum messed with her bipolar medication, which left her seeing visions of late tormentor Cameron. Then the tag team framed her for Heather's murder. Then they also framed her for an attempt on Phyllis' life and chained her in the sewer of doom. Now, woo! Jordan has sipped her last cup of tea, and Ian is headed for his last stand. What's on the other side for Sharon? The show wants us to believe that it's a reunion with Nick. The powers that be have laid it on thick throughout Sharon's travails, having her make out with visions of her ex, and even allowing him to give her the strength to rise like a phoenix out of that damn sewer. But perhaps Young and Restless is going to pull a fast one on us. Suppose it's led us to expect a chic reunion when in fact, it's about to reintroduce into her life another man from her past. Dylan, it's been 8 years since Sharon's husband left her to enter the witness protection program. In that time, maybe the danger has passed, and it's now safe for him to return to the woman he never stopped loving. With former portrayer Steve Burton now back on General Hospital as Jason, of course, he couldn't reprise the role. But there's a plethora of other actors who could step in as a recast. Greg Vaughn, currently off Days of Oof Lives as Eric, would make a terrific Dylan. Ryan Pavey, ex-Nathan, General Hospital, has hinted that he's considering a daytime comeback. And we can't fathom why Cody Ryan McLaughlin hasn't been snapped up by another soap already. The walls are closing in on Ian Ward, and his first clue will come in the form of a returning character who spells nothing but bad news for the cult leader turned ordained minister. The newest Young and Restless preview teases a showdown at the Newman Ranch. But what fans don't realize is that this may be Ian Ward's last stand. The madman, who returned to Genoa City with a plan to lure Maria back into his clutches, has seen his plot hit a few snags along the way. His scheme to get Sharon out of the picture failed miserably. His partner in crime turned her back on him, and now, little does he know, Jordan fingered him as Heather Stevens' killer before kicking the bucket. Of course, some believe she's not really gone. Whether she's gone or not, the legacy she left the man who helped free her from prison is a doozy. The Newmans believe that Ian is not only the mastermind, but the person who physically murdered Heather and framed Sharon, not to mention dosing her meds with PCP. It's all adding up to big, big trouble for the cleric, who is already wreaking havoc with other members of Mariah's family, given we know Tessa and Aria go missing. Bottom line, Ian is going to have to answer for all of this to the big man. And by that we mean the great Victor Newman. It all goes down this week when the aforementioned returning character shows up at Ian's door. As you can see by the sneak peek pic, Ward is definitely feeling a sense of foreboding. The character, of course, is Victor's henchman, Mortensen, who first appeared in a couple of episodes last year, and who popped in briefly earlier this month. The role is played by John Rushing, who has had roles in Rizzoli and Isles in The Family Business. It's hard to believe the head of the Newman security team hasn't been canned yet given their abysmal track record, but at least this gives us some answers about how Ian ends up in the ranch house. It seems Mortensen shows up at Ian's motel room and takes him to the big house for a mandatory sit-down with the mustache. How Ian ends up with a gun trained on Michael Victor and Nick remains to be seen, but if it turns out to be Mortensen's firearm that Ward grabs, we're not sure how good it's looking for his future employment. The Young and the Restless bid farewell to its popular villain, Jordan. After a year of wreaking havoc on the Newmans, her reign of terror ended after drinking poisoned tea. But have we seen the last of Miss Howard? Since arriving at Y&R a year ago, Jordan has been a devilish delight. The villain wanted revenge on the Newmans for the pain they caused her sister Eve, Jordan even lured her niece Claire into her scheme. However, Claire turned on her aunt after discovering that Victoria and Cole are her parents. Although Jordan was sent to prison, she escaped and teamed up with another Geno City villain, Ian. The two caused much chaos and pain by murdering Heather and kidnapping Sharon. However, the jig was up for Jordan when Claire spotted her. With the help of Victoria and Nikki, Claire hatched a plan to take down her aunt. After confessing to her crimes, Jordan downed the poisoned tea and then died with Claire by her side. Although Jordan took her final breath, Y and R fans know characters usually return from the dead. So the Newmans might not be free of Jordan just yet. The show seemed to foreshadow Jordan's future before her death. During her conversation with Claire, Jordan referred to herself as a cat with 9 lives. There's the possibility Jordan could have faked her death with her niece's help. Claire was the one who poisoned Jordan's tea, but showed hesitation in going through with the plan. Claire could have switched the poison with the medicine to make it appear Jordan was dead. Victor knows that Aunt Jordan Howard dying was only half of the equation. Ian Ward is still on the loose, and he needs to find him stat. Jordan accused Ian of murdering Heather Stevens, but she's now dead and no longer able to be a witness against him. Meanwhile, Tessa and Aria have gone missing. Is that because of Ian? Maria is sick with worry and tells Sharon and Nick how she went home, and they weren't there. Victor knows the situation has gotten complicated and needs someone he can trust to deal with Ian. He sends Michael Baldwin to have a chat with Ian in his motel room. Michael knows exactly what, or who, he's dealing with, and he knows he's taken on a dangerous assignment. But does it have the outcome he wants? He finds Ian with a rose in hand. Had he hoped to give it to Jordan? Also on Tuesday, Victor sends his security guard to the motel and has him bring Ian to the ranch. Once again, Victor puts Ian in the hot seat, but will Ian actually reveal any information? Will Ian's mood change once he finds out about Jordan? Or is he about to meet the same fate? Sally and Billy have been lifting one another up for a while now, and Sally's been especially encouraging Billy to let go of the revenge plot and do something with his life that makes it more enjoyable and positive. Last week, Sally surprised Billy with a home makeover. He had asked her to help him decorate his new place and use her designer eye on his space. But he had no idea that she would turn it into a home, complete with lots of little touches that tapped into his feelings about his family and who he wants to be. As Sally continues to work her magic on Billy on Tuesday, their relationship strengthens. They know they have a great friendship, and they know they have chemistry. But are they ready for more of a commitment? At Nate's apartment, Amy apologized for missing dinner because she'd been worn out after their flight back from Los Angeles. Amy thanked Nate and Audra for inviting her for dessert, even though she thought they could use a break from her. Nate insisted it wasn't true, and Audra pointed out that she picked up some meringue cookies that Amy loved. Amy protested that they shouldn't have gone to the trouble, but Audra figured she would have been forced to eat them all by herself without Amy there. Nate joked that he hadn't been able to get Audra to share with him, and he mentioned that the cookies had been all Audra's idea. Amy inquired whether there was any update about Damian. Nate revealed that her son was heading to Genoa City to talk further, but he wasn't sure it was about the job offer. Nate shared that his private investigator had uncovered that Damian wasn't as down and out as they'd thought. Nate divulged that both companies Damian was involved with were owned by the same parent company, which Denise had discovered was owned by Damian. A shocked Amy responded that she didn't see how that could be possible. Nate agreed it didn't track since Damian seemed like a lost soul, barely holding down a job and place to live. Amy recalled that her son had told her how much he was struggling, and he'd begged her for money a few years earlier. Nate marveled that Damian had become a hugely successful entrepreneur. Amy pondered how Damian had become the owner of multiple large, powerful companies without her knowing. Amy shared that Damian was extremely motivated when he put his mind to something, and she imagined he'd gotten it from Jackson. Audra told her not to sell herself short. Nate asked if Amy thought Damian was capable of building an empire. Amy supposed so, but she was surprised because Damian had lost all his drive and focus after Jackson had died, and she'd thought he'd never get it back. She questioned why Damian would hide his prosperity and success. Nate recounted that Damian had represented himself as drifting and lost, and he wondered why Damian had agreed to talk with him further. Amy theorized that Damian suspected something, and he intended to put Nate to the test. Nate steeled himself to be honest with Damian about using the job offer as an excuse to contact him. Amy noted that Damian didn't need the position. Nate pointed out that he'd done it all for Amy to reunite with her son. Audra urged Amy to take the opportunity to reach out to Damian. Amy feared losing Damian again once she told him all the secrets she'd kept from him. Audra insisted that Amy wasn't alone since she and Nate would be there for her no matter what happened. Amy expressed her gratitude to them for being a rock for her, and she resolved to prepare herself for Damian's arrival. Nate told her Damian would be there the next day. Amy was reluctant to face Damian that soon. Audra swore that Amy would do great. Amy wished she had Audra's faith since she was afraid she would push him away again, and it might be her last time seeing him. Audra chirped that it could be a fresh start and the first of many visits. Nate added that there was no reason not to be hopeful, and he'd witnessed the power of positive thinking many times as a surgeon. Nate encouraged Amy to believe she could get better and have more moments with her son. Amy recalled that Jackson had insisted that they never give up hope because they always had a choice, even in the bleakest of moments. Audra implored her to take her husband's advice and stick around to make a full recovery. Amy wished it was possible, but she'd gotten multiple opinions, and her prognosis wasn't good. Nate suggested that she consider it a reason to fight, and he said it would be his honor to look into her healthcare options. Amy gushed that their companionship and generosity were more than she could have expected, and she wished that Damian could join their merry trio. Nate told her to believe it was possible. Amy prepared to leave, and Nate promised to let her know once he heard from Damian. Amy confided that she was thrilled and terrified at the same time. Audra was sure Damian would see Amy's sincerity and how much she cared about him. Nate stressed that Amy wouldn't have to face the next part alone, and they exchanged hugs. After Amy departed, Nate complimented Audra's efforts to comfort Amy. Audra thought Damian was lucky to be Amy's son, and she wished she had family like Amy. Audra imagined Nate had been a very good doctor with his stellar pep talks and bedside manner. She wondered what he thought would happen when Damian arrived. Nate suspected Damian was in for a shock because his entire world was about to be turned upside down. At the cottage, Sharon looked forward to sleeping in her own bed, but her mind was racing. Nick wondered if the PCP was still in her system. Sharon explained that she'd stopped drinking the bottled water once she'd realized it had been drugged, and she'd been rehydrating since she got home. Sharon recalled that she tried not to spiral by thinking she wouldn't make it out of the sewer, but the fear and anxiety she'd experienced over the past few months had been overwhelming, starting with her hallucinations of Cassie. Sharon regretted that her rage over Cassie's death had caused her to do horrible things, but Nick insisted she hadn't been herself. Sharon contemplated how she'd ever get past it. Nick advised that Sharon had to sort through it all first, and he urged her not to rush it. Sharon acknowledged that she'd been taken advantage of in the worst possible way, since the laced medication had changed her worldview, but she refused to let herself off the hook. She accepted that she'd methodically covered up Heather's death and framed an innocent man. Nick recognized that she had to process her role in everything, but it wouldn't happen in one night. Sharon bemoaned that her actions had made the police investigation harder, and she lied to Nick and her children. She questioned how her family could ever forgive her. Nick contended that they always forgave and believed in one another, and he was confident that Sharon would heal in time. Sharon struggled to imagine herself getting there, but Nick assured her she would. Sharon resolved to be accountable to the people she'd hurt, and she hoped Daniel and Lucy could forgive her one day. Nick soothed that he'd never doubted she was a strong person who would find a way forward, and they embraced. Nick hesitantly prepared to leave, and he asked if Sharon was sure she was all right. She reminded him that Faith was there, and she was confident she'd calm down enough to sleep soon. Nick offered to stop by in the morning to check on her, and Sharon thanked him for everything. He murmured that he was glad she was doing okay, shuddering at the memory of the police discovering her car in the river and not being able to find her. His voice trailed off as he imagined what could have happened to her. Nick added that he didn't know what he would have done, and they hugged again before he headed out. Sharon flashed back to freeing herself from the chains in the sewer. Her vision of Cameron appeared and told her she was on the other side of it, whether she believed it or not. She figured she should have known he'd be back, and he chalked it up to the PCP. Cameron noted that she couldn't get to sleep, and she reflected on the last time she'd been in that sewer. Cameron recognized that it had been where she'd killed him, but the good news was that she hadn't killed Heather. Sharon had thought that would make everything better, but she wasn't so sure. Cameron mocked Sharon for torturing herself by wallowing in guilt and shame. Sharon couldn't imagine earning Daniel's forgiveness after what she'd done. Cameron encouraged her to forget about Daniel and find a way to forgive herself. Sharon voiced surprise to hear Cameron preach forgiveness. She recalled that Nick had told her she should let herself off the hook, and Cameron marveled that he and Loverboy actually agreed on something. Sharon fretted that she wasn't there yet and didn't know if she ever would be, and she put Daniel and Lucy through enough. Cameron pointed out that Sharon had been under heavy drugs at the time, and there was a difference between excuses and reality. Sharon compared Daniel being with Cassie in the car during the accident to how Sharon had been with Heather in the room where Heather had died. She expected that Daniel would always associate her with Heather's death the way she linked him to Cassie's. Cameron considered it possible for Sharon to forgive Daniel and for Daniel to forgive her. Sharon refused to make it about her when Daniel and Lucy were grieving. Cameron was impressed that Sharon sounded sane and rational, and he suspected it might be their last tango, because she wouldn't need him anymore after that night. "No offense, but I sure hope not," she replied. Cameron assured her that no offense had been taken. He cradled her head in his hands, tenderly kissed her, called her extraordinary, and said it had been a fun ride. "So long, baby," he cooed. "Goodbye, Cameron," Sharon responded, and he vanished. At the Newman ranch, Victor demanded to know exactly what had happened that night. Nikki groaned that it had been a long night, and they didn't need to relive it. Victor spat that she'd lied to him, but Victoria informed him that she and Claire had been in on it, too. Victor surmised the women had planned to murder Jordan. Claire flatly stated that it had needed to be done. Victor asserted that the point was that they'd gone rogue, and the cops were questioning his security team. Nikki pointed out that Victor had briefed his staff, but Victor clucked that there were holes in the story about Jordan committing suicide. He pressed for more information so he could protect his family. Victoria reasoned that Jordan was gone, and it was all anyone needed to know. Victor snapped that someone had been killed, and it looked like murder, so there would be a lot of questions. "Trust me, this ain't over," he warned. Victor ordered the women to tell him when they'd found out Jordan had escaped. Claire recounted that she'd seen Jordan earlier that day and confronted her, and she insisted that it had been her idea to handle Jordan by herself. Claire reasoned that Jordan had plotted to kill the Newmans because of her, and she'd had to make things right. Victor lectured that Claire shouldn't have tried to do it on her own. Claire shared that Victoria and Nikki had tried to talk her out of it, but she hadn't listened. She continued that she hadn't wanted to defy Victor, but she'd known he'd try to protect her, and she needed to be the one to end Jordan's attacks against their family once and for all. Victoria admitted that what Claire had said wasn't true, since Victoria and Nikki had known Jordan had escaped, and they had been aware of Claire's plan. Nikki added that she and Victoria had agreed to help and keep it from Victor. Victor guessed Claire had been trying to protect her mom and grandmother. Claire confirmed that she'd convinced the women that Jordan had to die, and she took sole responsibility for trying to deceive Victor. Victor asked how Claire had planned to cover up her actions. She figured that the world thought her aunt was in prison, so no one would have known Jordan was dead. Victor informed them that the cops knew the woman in the cell wasn't Jordan, so there was already a hole in their story. Victor wondered how they'd intended to dispose of the body, and Claire conceded that she hadn't gotten that far. Victor said he understood why Claire had wanted to get rid of Jordan, but he warned that Claire had taken an enormous risk by getting in over her head. Victoria explained that she'd hoped Claire wouldn't go through with it, and they could have called Victor and the police once they'd had Jordan trapped. Claire contended that she would have gone through with it, and the only thing that had stopped her was finding out Jordan had Sharon. Claire recalled that she hadn't been able to let Jordan die with that knowledge, and her hesitation to let Jordan drink the drugged tea had tipped Jordan off. Claire groaned that she'd never expected Jordan to take the poison to get out of trouble again, and Victor remarked that they'd gotten lucky. Nick entered the house and reported that Sharon was shaken up, but she would be all right. Nick assumed Jordan was in custody. Nikki crowed that no one ever needed to worry about Jordan again because she was dead. Nick was stunned to learn that Jordan had poisoned herself in front of the Newmans, but he was thankful she was out of their lives. Victor received an update from his security team and relayed that Jordan's body was on the way to the morgue. Victoria exclaimed that it was over, but Victor reiterated that there would be a lot of questions. Nick inquired whether Jordan had provided any information about Ian. Nikki revealed that Ian had allegedly killed Heather, but they had no proof. Victor vowed to find Ian and deal with him. Nikki invited Victoria and Claire to take guest rooms upstairs that night. The doorbell rang, and Nick let Chance in. Chance was glad to see the Newmans were still awake, and he informed them the abandoned pickup truck was being dusted for prints. Chance continued that he was aware Jordan had died that night and that Victor's team had called it in. Chance demanded to know what the hell had happened. Victor claimed that Jordan had snuck onto the grounds and broken into the tack house, intending to kill Claire and Victoria. Victoria added that they'd discovered Jordan there and been about to contact the police when Jordan had refused to go back to prison. Claire divulged that Jordan had poisoned herself. Victor fibbed that Jordan had had a vial containing a lethal substance that she'd taken when she panicked about going back to prison. Nikki lamented that Jordan had died right in front of them. Chance asked if the vial was in the house, and Victor told him the cops had confiscated it along with the body. Chance insisted on examining the scene, and Victor and Nick let him out. Victoria hoped the ordeal was over. It just has to be, Nikki prayed. Claire asked if Victoria honestly thought Claire wouldn't have been able to go through with killing Jordan. Victoria admitted she'd hoped that would be the case, although she understood Claire's motivation. Nikki lectured that taking someone's life was irreversible, and she hadn't wanted Claire to have to live with the guilt. Claire swore that she would have done it to protect her family, and she would have lived with the consequences. Victoria inquired whether Claire regretted that Jordan had died of her own volition, but Claire didn't know. Nikki stressed that the important thing was that Claire hadn't needed to make the choice since Jordan had sealed her own fate that night, and she was out of Claire's life forever. At the tack house, Chance asked if Victor and Nick had witnessed Jordan's death. Victor indicated that Nick hadn't been there, and Chance inquired whether Jordan had tried to escape. Victor maintained that she'd realized there had been no way out, so she poisoned herself to avoid going back to prison. Victor informed Chance that Jordan had admitted that Ian helped her escape from prison, and the two had worked together ever since. Victor continued that Jordan had talked about Ian killing Heather in a warped scheme to get close to Mariah. Chance asked if Jordan had mentioned where Ian was. Victor was sure Ian wasn't far since Ian wouldn't stop until he hurt Victor's family. Victor pledged to do whatever it took to find Ian, and he suggested they make Jordan's death public to lure Ian out. Chance opted to wait until the investigation was finished, but Victor snarled that the man was a menace who needed to feel the walls closing in. Chance cautioned that they didn't know how Ian would react, and the news of Jordan's death might set him off. Nick was sure Mariah was Ian's ultimate goal, and he stressed the need to protect Mariah, Tessa, and Aria. On The Young and the Restless, Cameron Grimes plays Maria Copeland, daughter of Sharon Newman. Recently, their lives were turned upside down with Ian Ward, Ray Wise, showed up in Genoa City. Ian kidnapped Mariah at birth and raised her as his daughter, but she wants nothing to do with the villain now. In real life, nothing could be further from the storyline for Grimes. She has shared her joy as a new mother and other events in her life. But this week, her pride is for her father, producer Preston Lee. Grimes shared photos this weekend on her Instagram from the Sundance Film Festival and her dad talking to reporters at a press event about his new movie, Omaha. Grimes shared a picture of a scene from the movie and captioned it, "The culmination of 30 years of hard work and dreams. I got to sit and watch my dad's film Omaha kick off the Sundance Film Festival yesterday. Pride doesn't really cut it." According to IMDb, the film Omaha is described as, after a family tragedy, siblings Ella and Charlie are woken up by their dad and taken on a cross-country journey, experiencing a new world. As their adventure unfolds, Ella begins to understand that things might not be what they seem. One thing some viewers of The Young and the Restless might not realize is that Cameron Grimes comes from a famous Hollywood family. Her father, Herbert Lee, is a writer and producer known for movies such as Encino Man, The Wizard, and now Omaha. Her mother, Heather Grimes, is an actress, appearing in shows such as Married, With Children, Beverly Hills, 90,000, 210, and Nightstand. Heather Grimes' brother is actor Scott Grimes, known for his roles on Party of Five, Band of Brothers, ER, and The Orville, as well as his voice characters on American Dad and Family Guy. Scott Grimes is also a singer known for Sunset Beloved and was on Billboard's Top 20. Heather and Scott's mother, and Cameron's grandmother, is Pam Grimes, a casting director who is perhaps best known for The Color of Evening, which starred Martin Landau and Ellen Burstyn. Cameron's cousin, Madison Grimes, is also an actress, appearing in features such as Without a Trace, Pearly Gates, and Tori Amos, Taxi Ride. Fans of The Young and the Restless, The Bold and the Beautiful, and the soon-to-be premiering CBS Setzer Beyond the Gates know that our favorite soap stars work hard. But they also know how to play hard and, when needed, can be like Bill Spencer and appreciate some much-deserved me time. Luckily for us, they shared what they were up to. The Young and the Restless. Melissa Ordway, Abby Newman on The Young and the Restless, and her husband, Justin Gaston, made another trip to Home Depot and gave us some laughs along the way. In an Instagram video today that he captioned, "Surprise, surprise," Daniel Goddard got fans of The Young and the Restless excited when he teased exactly what they wanted to hear: his possible lie and our return to play Kane Ashby. Okay, so what we want to hear was short on confirmation and definitive wording, but Goddard knows what he's doing. Sporting Kane's big grin and a twinkle in his eye, Goddard strolled through a park and revealed, "So I got a phone call the other day from someone I highly admire and respect, and he asked me if I could take a look at something. So here I am walking in the rain. The only problem is, the script is getting wet." With a grin, Goddard held up a rolled-up script. Cameron told Sharon she wouldn't see him anymore after the January 27 episode of The Young and the Restless. She seems almost regretful about it, especially after Ghost Cameron changed his tune, and instead of reminding Sharon about her bad deeds, not only helped her escape captivity, but reminded her that she wasn't to blame for what happened to Heather, and that she was under some pretty heavy drugs when she framed Daniel. They almost parted as friends, if one can be friends with one's bloody hallucination whom you killed. But while Cameron was a terrible, horrible human being, not to mention a pretty vindictive ghost, there is no denying that Sharon Case and Ashby shared some serious chemistry. And chemistry like that shouldn't go to waste, especially on a show that, at the moment, is somewhat lacking in viable couples. Why not bring Ashby back as Cameron's long-lost, look-alike brother? A brother who isn't thrilled that Sharon inherited the company he assumed would go to him. Maybe he even helped Cameron build it. Cameron's brother confronts Sharon. She is horrified by the resemblance, but also kind of intrigued by it. Mesmerized. Drawn. It would be an unexpected twist. Nick sticking by Sharon through her latest drama suggested these two star-crossed lovers would be getting back together. Again, after all, her most recent husband is dead. Adam is busy with Chelsea, and it's obvious that Sally is his destiny in any case. Who else is there for Sharon? She needs someone new. And she deserves a guy she knows she can click with. But in a good way this time. As an added bonus, Ashby's real-life wife, Susan Walters, is already on the show, playing Diane. They can carpool. It's good for the environment. The young and the Restless star Courtney Hope took to social media to debunk rumors she was leaving the show. After seeing a social media account claim that Hope had said her goodbyes as she prepared to leave Y&R, she took to her own social media page to set the record straight. On January 26, Hope shared a screenshot regarding the rumors via her Instagram stories. Then, she added a series of videos with her thoughts. To provide context for her fans, Hope shared a screenshot from a Y&R News Instagram account that included the teaser. Courtney Hope says goodbye to Y&R. A new chapter awaits for the beloved star. Hope added a caption that read, "This is not true, and it really is infuriating when people put out false news just to get a reaction out of the fans. I'm not leaving, I'm not taking a break, no such thing has been uttered." Deplorable clickbait. The Instagram post that she referred to remains on the creator's page. Hope added a comment herself that read, "I have absolutely no idea where you're getting your information." She added, "I would really appreciate you stopping the spread of misinformation. You're getting people worked out for no reason." However, Hope shared she felt this wasn't about her. "I have a problem with preying on people's emotions. You know, we at The Young and the Restless work really hard to make sure our fan base is valued and seen and heard. And I have a problem when somebody takes that value system of us and uses it for their own self-satisfaction and their own gratification for clickbait, for boosting their own presence," Hope explained. She further explained, "It's gross, and I feel a responsibility to my fans, to the Young and the Restless fans, to make sure they have the correct information. Now that Jordan's has been dealt with, it's time for Ian Ward to feel the heat." Michael arrives at the baddie's hotel room before carting him off to the Newman ranch. Victor is ready for him, but we doubt he will show much mercy. As for Ian's victims, Sharon and Mariah stick close together at the cottage with Nick. They are well aware of just how dangerous things are right now with Ian on the loose, and they don't want to take any chances. Poor Sharon is still reeling from these past few months and needs time to heal before Ian causes even more drama in their lives. This episode isn't all doom, gloom, and villains. Amid all the drama, romance continues to rise for Sally and Billy. They cozy up for a night in, and those sparks between them quickly turn into a 5-star blaze. It might have taken their partners cheating to find this side of each other, but they are here now, and they will savor every moment. The Young and the Restless recap for Monday, January 27. reveals that Sharon says goodbye to Cameron before Mariah realizes Tessa and Aria are missing. Plus, Victor makes plans to deal with Ian and Nate, Audra, and Amy make plans to meet Damian. At Sharon's, Nick noticed she seemed wired. She admitted her mind was racing and wondered if she still had PCP in her system. Nick reassured her that her actions weren't her fault, but Sharon still felt guilty. It bothered her that she framed Daniel. Nick encouraged Sharon to be patient with herself and work toward healing. Later, Sharon recalled her past and imagined Cameron comforting her. He urged her to forgive herself and move on. Sharon said farewell to Cameron and resolved to make amends and find peace. Later, Nick worried about his family's safety and Mariah rushed in. She revealed that Tessa and Aria were missing. At the ranch, Victor confronted Nikki, Victoria, and Claire for leaving him out of their plan to eliminate Jordan. Claire admitted she orchestrated the plan and she knew there were flaws. Victor criticized their lack of preparation and insisted they needed a better strategy for handling Ian. After all, he was still a danger. At Nate's, Amy discussed feeling tired since returning from the trip with Nate and Audra. Amy asked Damian, and Nate said Damian was coming to town for another meeting. They were surprised to learn that he owned the parent company behind his businesses. Amy wondered if Damian was testing Nate. Nate suggested they come clean, and Audra encouraged Amy to tell Damian the truth. Though nervous about Damian's reaction, Amy appreciated their support and resolved to see him at the meeting. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of January 27 to 31 note that the land of Geno City can be a revolving door where characters come and go, only to return again. My and our spoilers confirm that Colleen Zank has completed her run as Vile Villainess, Aunt Jordan. The character passed away after she drank some tea, sprinkled with crushed sleeping pills, during the Friday, January 24 episode. Jordan was faced with the choice of going back to prison or death, and she chose an untimely passing. Claire Newman, Victor Newman, as well as Nikki Newman and Victoria Newman, all watched on as Jordan, slowly but surely, met her demise, without anyone lifting a finger to save her. Zank entered the Y&R as Claire's crazy aunt, who kidnapped her as a baby in November 2023, and is also known for her sudsy run as Barbara Ryan on As the World Turns. Y&R spoilers. Cameron Weber pops back in to pop back out. Across town, Y&R spoilers reveal that Lyndon Ashby will reprise the role of the Cameron Kirsten hallucination during the Monday, January 27 episode. However, fans shouldn't get overly excited about this return. As Sharon still has PCPs in her system, she'll have a conversation with Cameron, but it's more of a heartwarming goodbye, as she now knows who has been behind her drugging and Heather Stevens' murder. The Young and the Restless spoilers, motherly return. Lastly, Y&R fans will see Valerie Pettiford reprise her role as Amy Lewis during the soap's Monday episode. Lewis will have scenes with Nate Hastings and Audra Charles as they fill her in on the new information they received on her son Damian. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the next 2 weeks are in. From January 27 to February 7, 2025, fans can expect Tessa Porter and Aria Porter Copeland to go missing. Ian Ward waves a gun around at Newman Ranch. Also, Chance Chancellor uncovers the truth. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Victor Newman's cover up. Y&R spoilers for the week of January 27 reveal that Victor Newman will twist a few facts for Chance. Of course, Victor just wants to protect his family. So Victor will omit some information from his statement to Chance about Jordan. Victor will leave out the fact that Claire Grace Newman set a trap for Jordan. Victor will also not tell Chance about Claire giving Jordan sleeping pills. Y&R spoilers. Chance Chancellor's evidence, in the end, Jordan chose to drink the poisoned tea herself. However, that will just be the Newman family's word. Chance has dealt with Victor covering up crimes before. Chance warned Victor that he wouldn't bend the law for him again, no matter what. Next week, it is teased that Chance ends up discovering the truth. So, will Claire get arrested? Will Victoria Newman jump in and claim she was the one who drugged Jordan? The story could go in a lot of different directions from here. The Young and Restless spoilers. Week of January 27, 2025. The Young and the Restless spoilers for next week reveal that Sharon Newman says a final farewell to hallucination Cameron Kirsten. However, Mariah Copeland panics when she learns that Tessa and Aria are missing. Meanwhile, Ian shows up at the Newman ranch, waving a gun around like a lunatic. A behind-the-scenes photo shows Ian with a bloody wound to the chest. However, will Chance really believe the Newman family so soon after Jordan's questionable demise? Fans will also see Daniel Rumalotti Jr. learns the truth about Heather Stevens' death. Elsewhere, Kyle Abbott pushes Claire to come clean. The Young and the Restless spoilers, next 2 weeks. During the week of February 3, Maria will hopefully be reunited with Tessa and Aria. The Newman family will have to deal with the fallout from the Ian/Jordan mess. Also, Billy Abbott and Sally Spectra have a Paris trip coming up. There should also be Damian, who is coming to Genoa City. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most during the next 2 weeks? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Tuesday, January 28, 2025 are here. In tomorrow's episode, fans can expect Ian Ward to fall into Victor Newman's trap. There's a legal mess after Jordan's fatal self-poisoning. Also, Billy Abbott falls in love with Sally Spectra. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Billy Abbott's love story. Y&R spoilers for Tuesday, January 28 reveal that Sally really impressed Billy with her apartment recordation skills. It was the personal touch, the framed photos of Billy's children, that let Billy know that Sally truly was thinking of him and what matters to him the most. This kind of gesture could have Billy start to fall in love with Sally. There's a Paris trip coming up for Billy and Sally. With these two falling even harder for each other, could there be a wedding in the near future? Billy already knows that Sally is great with kids. However, at some point, it would be nice to see Sally interact with Johnny Abbott and Katie Newman. Y&R spoilers, Mariah Copeland's terror. Over with Mariah Copeland, she has just realized that Tessa Porter and Aria Porter Copeland have gone missing. Maria is certain that Ian is responsible. Sharon Newman will try to offer support to Mariah. Meanwhile, Nick Newman might alert Chance Chancellor and also Victor. While none of this is Mariah's fault, she could once again blame herself and wonder if she'll ever see her family again. Somehow, Tessa and Aria will likely be reunited with Sharon soon enough. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Ian Ward trapped. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Tuesday, January 28 reveal that Victor will set a trap for Ian. Apparently, Ian falls for it. As Victor sits calmly in a chair while Michael Baldwin stands nearby, Ian bursts through the door waving a gun around. Clearly, Victor probably told security to go ahead and let Ian through. A behind-the-scenes photo recently surfaced showing Braden with several other cast members. Braden's arm was around a smiling Wise's shoulder. On Wise's t-shirt was a giant red stain, indicating he likely dies during the Newman Ranch showdown. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.